Um, Next question. How do you go about coming up with ideas that a different country or culture will find particularly interesting? So Brits love to chat about the weather, but some countries might not care as much. Yes, that's a really good question, because we've had that before. And especially with campaigns that are a bit more lifestyle centric, I'd say, or that don't necessarily have like a very strong hook. So this campaign we've done for the UK, it was a test to test how good you were at figuring out colors and at recognizing them, and it got really good results. So it got links in 96 links and international pickups. And we thought, why don't we translate this for a client in French? Because I think it would be something to try and see how the French journalists will take it. And actually, the journalists in France were not as interested in it. And even with the French survey, it was just a format, because it was a game. It was a format that didn't fit the French journalists. And I tried everywhere. I tried lifestyle, I tried different headline, I used the survey details, and it's just the topic wasn't just strong enough. And I think what happened is that I assumed that because the campaign got picked up internationally, then it will work in this specific country. So it got a couple of French pickups, but that doesn't mean that the top tier publication in France will be interested. And that is something to always keep in mind, is that you need to do the background work. And this is the few things that I think are essential to actually have like a strong piece of content. One would be to define target publications, because if you go a bit blind and you just think, oh, that worked in the UK, that would be fine, it got loads of links, that has to work in France. Not really, because if you define target publication, if I did that when I translated it, I would realize that actually they never cover this type of things. And so probably if I send it to them, they're going to find it a bit weird. One or two people might pick it up, but I don't think it would be something that just, goes everywhere. Then research the topic that you're looking into. That is very similar to doing an ideation in the UK or in the US. Make sure that you know what you're talking about, what's been done. Is it like something new? Are you bringing something to the table here? Just looking at the environment in which you're going to then outreach after. Work with natives or people that know the culture. I mentioned that before, but sometimes we do ideation for France, and there are non-French people that are working on the ideation. And sometimes I'm like, I don't think I would read that as a French reader. And I don't think I would, a journalist would publish this, because this is not something we talk about. Or, some people don't like to talk about money. Some countries don't talk about politics. Well, politics, yes, they do. But, there are ways to approach it, and you can't always do it in the same way. So I would definitely run the idea past someone that knows the culture. And sometimes it doesn't have to be someone in your team. It can also be someone external that has nothing to do with it. Like I bounce ideas with my mum all the time. She reviews all my templates, and she always has very good comments to add to it, because she is obviously French. And on top of that doesn't have that international culture that I am exposed to in London. So that's a very good way to test your campaign as well. And then find a strong global or local database. So I think what has created successful campaigns so far have been the strength of the database we've used. So either it's a survey, or it's something that is very, it's just a platform that is global, but gives like a very strong angle, like for example, France, the most expensive country to buy shoes, whatever. But like we did with South America, it's just something that will like elevate your pitch a bit, and will give you like that strong headline that everyone wants, that the journalists are expecting, and that is everywhere. Even in the UK, you have to go through a lot of journalist email, but in France it's the same. And everywhere, what journalists want is a good story. and a strong database for this is the start, in my opinion, at least. Obviously, I'm giving my personal experience here, but if you have like experienced something different, I'm also, you can mention it in the chat, because I'm actually really interested in hearing about how it went for you. So I'm going to show you an example of a campaign that we wanted to come up with for France, France, UK, US, and Australia. So we had one campaign, and so we needed to find a topic that was something that would resonate with all these countries. And so most importantly, define target publications. These were the publications we kind of wanted to get coverage in. We then search around the topic, found out like, what are people writing about? Like, you know, it was for a finance client, so we looked in money, personal finance. What are people actually interested to read about? And then, you know, we just like looked for a good database, and what we came up with is a platform that looked at the earnings of world leaders, head of state, head of government. Well, that's a bit of an older campaign, so you can see like in Australia, Turnbull was the most paid leader in the world. Great headline for Australia. We had that with Trump in the US as well. We had, like, you know, for France, you had Luxembourg, you had Germany coming on top, and it went, and it was just like, you had Canada for like French speaking Canada as well. So we had a lot to work with, and then we translated it in French, and it worked really well. It got like a lot of publications. It got like Business Insider, it got publication in Australia. It went a bit viral in Australia. And then, you know, France did also quite well. I'll show you an example of how we outreached it after as well. But this is like the whole process of coming up with that campaign, and how actually it was so vital that we actually researched the topic thoroughly.